Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's Scan Pro Audio webcast. We're very happy to have with us this week the adorable Mr. Johnathan Burrows, who's going to be running what turns out to be a very popular subject. He's going to be doing a Røde webcast, and he has a very special guest with him. But I'll let him introduce him in a little while. Suffice to say, every week we have some special offers, and this week's no exception. What you need to do is listen out for the special code word, and at the end of the show, we'll make sure that you know what that is. But if you then email us at scanproaudio@scan.co.uk and tell us what the code word is, we'll email you back with some favourable pricing, I think is the term. But for now, we're going to run some titles, and when we come back, you'll have Johnathan all to yourselves.
Good evening and welcome to the Røde webcast in conjunction with Scan tonight. Lovely to have you with us. My name's Johnathan. I work for Røde here in the UK. My background is audio, hence I'm surrounded by mics, and I hopefully shed some light on some of the options for Røde recording audio for video use tonight. We also have with us a very special guest tonight, the multi-award winning photojournalist and filmmaker Edmond Terakopian. Good evening, Edmond. Are you with us?
I'm indeed. Good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for having us. So what our format for tonight is basically I can go through some of the different families of mics that are appropriate for recording audio for video. I'm not a filmmaker as such, so Edmond is here as the professional expert. So I'll tell you a little bit about the mics in short term, and then Edmond can tell you how he uses them and how he uses them in the field and what he likes about them and what have you. So if that's all right with you, Edmond, I'll just give a bit of background on Røde to start with. What makes Røde different? There's a lot of mic manufacturers out there. Røde is different because they, like a lot of people, have a design office and they come up with some great designs. But for the last 20 years, the difference is that they keep all the manufacture in that same office. So everything is made in Australia, in Sydney. And instead of an office designing something and then sending plans over to China to have it made there, which is quite often the case, Røde choose to keep the quality control directly to themselves. They invest heavily in manufacturing equipment and highly automate things so that the manufacturer of microphones, when you buy one microphone, you can make 1,000, and 1,000 down the line is going to sound exactly the same. That's what you need from microphones. You don't want any variation in sound. You want to get one microphone and another one will sound exactly the same. You don't want any variation in the tone and what have you on the same mic. So that precision in the manufacture enables Røde to give a 10-year warranty on most of its products. Most of the things I'll show you here tonight have a 10-year warranty, and that's because it's made so well to start with. Not only is it great product and it'll give you great sound, but there's a 10-year warranty to back that up in case you do have any problems as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just run through some of the families of mics. Some of you will have different cameras that you use, and maybe something that you can put questions to Edmond. So we're inviting questions in the chat room all evening, either for myself from a technical point of view or for Edmond there to kind of give a real world kind of experience. So we're going to break things down and we're going to talk about different families of mics and how you might use them. First of all, Edmond, I'll come to you for a second. A lot of cameras now have their own inbuilt mics, and a lot of people, that's what they use. How important is it to you for an audio side to use something separate in terms of microphones?
I think as a visual person, primarily photographers are obviously visual. You know, my background is photography. Filmmaking came much later. Initially, we don't really appreciate the real importance of audio because we think it's all in a picture and great composition and great action and movement and sort of storytelling, which obviously is important. But we just don't appreciate how important audio is. And the second you speak to anyone in proper filmmaking, in cinematography and so on, and you sort of start to hear words, phrases like audio's 50%, audio's 60% of the finished product, that you sort of start questioning why it is so. And it really is. If you have even the best footage, the best action, wonderfully shot, beautifully edited and graded, and you have bad audio, it degrades from the finished, the final piece so much that it becomes unviewable. Also, another thing with audio is, as expressive as a visual is, audio is as expressive. So when you're trying to tell a story, be that a photojournalistic story or be that a sort of a short creative film, you actually have two massive tools at your disposal. One is very strong visuals, but the other is very, very strong audio. And if you combine those two, if you try and begin to learn, understand, explore, and master those two disciplines, it then makes you a much, much better filmmaker, because you have double the impact of someone who doesn't understand one or the other. Going back to the other part of your question, the built-in microphones are useful up to a point. They're sort of very, they have a very sort of, if we talk in photographic terms, a very sort of wide angle of coverage. So, they'll sort of, they'll have an acceptance area which is very wide and take all sorts of noises and sounds and sort of put them down onto the compact flash or SD card. But they also record things like every camera click, movement, scratch, focusing sound that the camera makes. And the other thing is, they are on the camera. They're built into the camera, which means they are far away from your subject. So unless you're shooting your subject this closely, you're not going to get good audio because the microphone's so far away. And all of that's not taken into account the actual quality of the microphone itself. It's a very cheap kind of microphone. The size that they have to be shrunk to means that they're not great. Sure. Whereas, if you choose a proper microphone, and there's various kinds which we're going to discuss as this webinar goes on. You're going to get a much better quality of sound because the microphone's better. You're going to get a much better quality of sound because you can move that microphone and have it closer to your subject if it suits the kind of sound that you're trying to record. And 99 times out of 100, getting closer is the crux. Robert Capa once said, if your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And the same ethos, for me, in my experience, is very true with audio. Almost all of the time, you need to get your microphone as close as you can to get the best sound. There's some very rare exceptions, but they really are extremely rare exceptions. Audio is key.
It's very important. Thank you very much. So the first group of microphones that we're going to talk about tonight is a shotgun microphone. So it might look very familiar if some of you have used them before. They're very often seen on film sets and they're quite commonplace, and this is what we use. So this, I'll explain how a shotgun microphone works. As like a camera, you're facing a certain position, that's where you're picking the image up. That's exactly what a shotgun microphone is doing for audio. It picks up sound at the front and that travels down the tube, and actually the diaphragm which collects the sound is actually somewhere down here in the microphone. Now what that means is any sound coming direct from where you're pointing it travels straight down the tube and straight to the diaphragm. So it collects that sound and it passes it off to the mixer or to the camera or whatever you're recording on. If things are coming in from the side, if sound's coming in from the side, it actually goes into the side of the microphone through the grill. I'll try and show you on the close-up there, and bounces around, and the energy within the sound wave actually disappears before it gets to the diaphragm at the bottom. So what it's doing is collecting sound from the front and actually rejecting everything from the back and the sides, so you're literally just getting an audio from where you're positioning the mic. That's called a supercardioid directional. It's a polar pattern, so it's just picking up from the front. So this microphone is the NTG1, extremely popular microphone. Again, as I've said, it's a shotgun microphone. You've got a little switch on there, and that's a high-pass filter. And most of the things we have will have a high-pass filter on there. If in case you don't know what a high-pass filter is, it allows the higher frequencies to pass through and be recorded, and anything below about 80 hertz, it just cuts off. So basically, if you're in a room where there's maybe some air conditioning, or you're in a room where there's maybe footsteps up top, that's going to cut off all of that kind of really low kind of rumble before it's actually recorded, and that's going to save you time later in editing. So that's the NTG1. The next microphone is the NTG2, and basically that's the same microphone, and the only difference is that that has a battery compartment in. Now, all of these microphones are condenser microphones, which means they take a power supply through the mic cable, to the XLR cable on the back there, from either your mixer or your camera, and cable kind of goes in there, and it takes a power supply from that to power the mic. Just in case you don't know what camera you're going to be using, just in case you don't know what mixer you're going to be feeding into, this has a battery compartment, so you know you're safe with everything. So for that reason, the NTG2 is kind of one of the most popular microphones we do for this purpose. Again, it's got the high pass filter on there if you wish to use it. The next mic in the range is the NTG3. Now, this actually uses a different technique for actually collecting the sound. The feature of the shotgun works exactly the same, and in that technique it collects the sound the same, but the technology inside actually works differently. That means that it's extremely low noise itself. So if you needed to record something very, very quiet and you're needing to turn the gain up on your mixer or your camera, you're not going to get any hiss from this microphone. Generally, with any bit of electronics, as soon as you start turning the levels up, you're going to get some hiss. And this is specifically designed so you can do that, so you can record something very, very quietly or very far away and not get any hiss. The other advantage of the RF bias technology in it is that it's resistant to moisture. So if you're doing a lot of outside work, this is perfect because moisture is not going to affect it. If you're in the snow and the ice, the moisture is not going to damage it. The cold is not going to affect it. Equally, if you're in the middle of a desert, the heat is not going to affect it either. So that's the NTG3, very highly regarded as a professional microphone. The next mic in the group is this one here, and this is an NTG8. Exactly the same technology inside as the NTG3 as we've just discussed, but this is a longer barrel. Again, the diaphragm is down here at the bottom. Basically what that means, the longer the barrel, it's not that it's going to pick sound up from further away than any others, but it's going to be more specific over a longer area. Sound has to be coming more or less straight in to get to the capsule at the bottom, and anything from the side or the back is just going to be rejected. So it's a very, very specific microphone in terms of direction. Edmond, I'm going to come on to the accessories in a second, but I presume you use shotgun microphones quite a lot in what you do.
Absolutely. The majority of the microphones I use are the shotgun mics. Just to add to what you were saying about the NTG3 and about how resistant it is, one of my colleagues has taken his to Afghanistan for 4 years on the trot, sort of in the middle of combat zones and covering all sorts of combat missions for Al Jazeera and Channel 4 and stuff, and not had a single issue with his NTG3. Right. So excellent. That's if ever a testament was needed for not only quality but something that's built rugged and built to last. I think that kind of illustrates the point really well. Yeah. I personally, that's my favorite microphone as well, the NTG3. I have an NTG2 as well, which was my first XLR shotgun microphone, which I used extensively. And having the battery in there helps a lot, depending on what you're using. You can self-power it or have it draw phantom power from the recording unit. Or the sort of recording interface which I'll show later on. But by far my favorite is the NTG3. The sound I was getting from the 2 was amazing. I was more than ecstatic with it. Sure. And then I tried the NTG3 and it just blew me away. So again, it's like, in photographic terms, you get a great zoom lens and it's fantastic, and then you get a great prime lens and it blows your socks off because it's so much better. And that's it's definitely worth listening to these things. For anyone sort of new to filmmaking and video who's from a photographic background, it's a really fascinating journey, because you start to realize the differences, the subtleties, the gains that you get, and how you can sort of sculpt the sound to the way you want it. It's exactly like twiddling with exposure and composition and stuff, and
Sure. Yeah.
sort of crafting what you're doing.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, thank you. Obviously these microphones, you don't want to be holding them in your hand, because that's going to get noise, and exactly as Edmond says before, you need to get close to the subject that you're trying to capture the audio from. So I've just got some of the accessories that match with those mics. So it might be that you do actually want to connect one of these mics to your camera. So in such a case, you can have such accessories like that. So there's, depending on what kind of camera you've got or where you want to put it, there's lots of different accessories which you can always put the mic into. Now, there's a general theme with everything here, that if you can see there in the middle, the mic is actually floating on bands on a shock mount there. A couple of reasons for that. One, you don't want the mic to get knocked, because anything touching it, a solid surface, is going to translate into a sound. And the other is, throughout the whole system of the sound process, any kind of sound coming up from the floor, through anything, through yourself, through your body, or on a mic stand, that's going to go into the microphone, and that could affect your sound. So the whole idea of these bands and the shock mounts that I'll show you shortly is to decouple the microphone from what's holding it, so that it is effectively floating in midair, so that the sound doesn't translate from anywhere you don't want it. So that's one option. So that will go straight onto the camera. We have other options where similar kind of thing. I'll show you a close-up of that, and that will go into either a mic stand or a boom pole, which we have here. So you might see that attached on there like so. The next kind of step up is maybe to go for something like this, which is a pistol grip. So this is something where maybe you're doing an interview and you need to move the mic around, or maybe it's something where you have someone separate doing the audio and they can position and direction the mic as is. So basically, if I take an NTG2, again, this is all rubber, so the idea is that, that's kind of floating and there's nothing solid there. And that can just push through there. It's always quite firm because you don't want the microphone moving around. You then hold in the pistol grip, the cable goes through the handle and goes into the back there. So everything's nice and secure, and it's not going to knock around at all. Just get that into there, like so. So that might start looking familiar now as a kind of a whole package. The next stage to do, that's all right for indoor use, but maybe when you go outdoor, there's always going to be some weather, especially here in the UK. So with the microphone, it always comes with a foam windshield as well, and that's going to protect the microphone from any wind, maybe a little bit of moisture, so you don't get that kind of blowing sound on the mic. You can always hear maybe journalists really struggling in the wind. If they don't have something like this on, then you just wouldn't hear the journalists at all. You would just hear wind. The next stage from that is to add some more protection. So this is a Furry Windshield, and that basically goes on the top and gives an extra layer of protection. So if you're doing a lot of outside work, it's really worth investing in a little bit more protection. And you'll see journalists kind of use this, and they'll be talking to the people who they want a response from and using it themselves, and that's, as I say, it's all a professional piece of kit. This item here is called a dead cat. For any animal rights people out there, it's not actually made from cat, it's just synthetic. So hopefully we haven't upset anyone there. The next stage, the next accessory, if you need kind of both of those options all the time, is to maybe go for a deluxe windshield. And basically, this has the foam inside, a tight rubber grip there, and it's got the furry part on the outside. So that just slides on in one go. And again, maybe you haven't used them before, but that'll look very familiar to you from television and film. On the handle, as I say, the cable comes out of the bottom there, and that will also again screw onto the top of a boom pole or a mic stand if you want it to be static, to give you that flexibility to get extra reach to exactly where you need to be. Now, going a stage further, again, this will probably look very familiar, even if you haven't used one before. From this level, from the Deluxe Windshield, if you're in really kind of bad weather and you're filming outside all the time, it could be that the wind is hitting the back of the microphone and giving you a little bit of noise that way. So to solve this is called the Røde blimp. The furry side of it is called a dead wombat. And basically, I can show you this by taking this off. That's the furry cover there. And then, again, that probably looks familiar. What happens, you take that off from both sides. And in the middle there, if we do a close-up for that, you'll see that the microphone is suspended in the center there, again on windshield, on a shock mount, so the mic is not actually touching anything solid, and that just protects the mic all around. So you've got the front and the back on there. The cable actually just goes up through a little hole connecting to there. Again, the cable runs down the handle, and your mic connector is just there ready for your cable. So again, if you're in a lot of extreme weather, or you just don't know where you're going to be that day, the blimp is always a really useful tool to take with you wherever you're going. Okay. Do you use any windshields or any accessories yourself, Edmond?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I use a mic, at minimum, I have the foam on, even indoors, because even that sort of movement of a microphone, you know, on a boom pole or in a pistol grip, even that movement without any wind in the room can create sound. So the foam is always on there because it just, you know, it stops you from getting stuff like that. And if I'm outdoors, I definitely have a dead cat on there, right. Because it's crucial, absolutely necessary.
Yeah, sure. Great. Well, that's the shotgun family of microphones and some of the accessories that go with that. Now, the next family of microphones we're going to talk about were specifically designed for DSLR cameras and maybe smaller camcorders. The facility to do HD video on cameras has become very common recently, and as Edmond said, the problem with an inbuilt microphone on a camera is it's that, and as we've talked about with shock mounts, it's embedded into the camera. So any button clicks, any lenses moving, anything like that, even just you breathing straight behind it, can collect noise because it's collecting noise from everywhere. So the camera's looking in front of you, but actually it's collecting noise from anywhere. So the first mic specifically for this use is called the Videomic. Now this has had a recent update, so it's now got a Rycote shock mount, and you see that's floating around on top there, so that you don't get any knocks or bangs, and it's decoupling it from the camera itself. You can see in addition to being directly connected to the camera, so that's a little mini jack there, it's actually more in proportion with the camera than some of the other microphones. So if you are literally wanting to collect sound from wherever you're looking, the video mic is more in proportion with the camera to carry around. Same again, you can also put the mic onto a grip like that, so you can have it separately and extend the cable. But a lot of people you'll see like this, especially photojournalists, to do this. Again, it's a shotgun microphone, so under the phone there, it's exactly the same kind of format as the others we've discussed. On the back, if we can get a little video closer with that, there's a 9-volt battery in there which powers the microphone. So again, you're not relying on the camera or anything else to power the microphone. There's a 9-volt battery in there. Battery life is up to about 80 hours, so there's nothing to worry about, and you're going to run out if you take a fresh battery with you. So the switch on the back actually turns it on. You can get a green light there. And again, you've got a high-pass filter on there, so that might just get rid of some of the general rumble from the outdoors, as again, road noise or air conditioning kind of noise on that kind of sense. So that is the Videomic R, and they sell for around £80. Still excellent quality, and a very, very versatile mic. The next stage up from that is the Videomic Pro. So as you can see, as cameras have got smaller over the last few years, even the video mic was sometimes too large for for some cameras, and you don't want things getting in the way of the lens. So the Videomic Pro was developed, and again, you can see that it's on its own shock mount, so it's just suspended in midair there. Again, shotgun microphone, and on the back there's a couple of there's one major difference. You've got an on switch, and you've got the high pass filter as normal. And then at the bottom here, you have the facility to not only reduce the level. So on the video mic, you've got a pad. So if you, for example, you're at an airport and you're filming airplanes taking off, it's extremely loud, and that actually might be too loud for any microphone. So on the video mic that we've just done, you can actually reduce the sound by 10 or 20 dB. You can do the same, you can reduce it by 10 dB on the Videomic Pro, but actually crucially on the Videomic Pro you can increase the level that you're getting as well. So if you're doing an interview, maybe somewhere very quiet, you need to turn the level up on the camera. You need to turn the gain up on the camera to actually get the level that you want to hear. Now the problem with cameras is because the preamps are so small and they're trying to save space on the camera, when you turn that gain up, you actually get a lot of hiss at the time, and it actually degrades the sound quality. So on the Videomic Pro, you can actually boost the level on the mic so that on the camera you can turn the level right down, and you get a much clearer signal with much less hiss. So that is the Videomic Pro. A new addition to the shotgun video mic range is the Videomic Go. So again, you've got your shoe connector there on the bottom. On all of them, you've got a 3/8 connector as well, so you can put them onto a boom pole or a mic stand. Again, Røde shock mount, very strong, very flexible there. This microphone doesn't actually need a battery, so this just plugs straight into your camera and is ready to go straight away. And that is £65. So they're a very cost-effective way of getting into video, and a great quality, and so light. And as you can see, if I compare it with the other one, quite a bit smaller than the video mic. So it's very flexible if you're doing a lot of movement. Edmond, I'm going to come on to stereo video mics in a second, but again, just wanted to see if you used the video mic as is, and you used that with DSLR cameras at all.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got into exploring video on a DSLR, first one being the Canon 5D Mark II, the Røde video mic was the very first microphone I used, and very quickly I realized how great a sound it was giving me. Two crucial accessories I found really helped was Røde do a shielded extension lead. So it's just a lead with a coil on one end. You just plug the video mic in on the lead at one end, plug the other end of the lead into the camera. And it meant that I could then put the microphone on a boom pole, which is basically like a monopod, and get the microphone really sort of close in to where the sound was coming from, a bit of dialogue or ambient sound, footsteps and so on. And if you folks look up my very first video, which is called Muse, it's on my Vimeo channel, so if you just Google me and Google Muse, you'll find it. You can see the kind of sounds that I was already getting from never having done video or audio to using a video mic. And that just opened my eyes. That was the first step. And from there, I then went up to the Røde NTG2, which was the XLR mic that we had a look at a little bit earlier. And at first, I was using a box called a Beach Tech box, which is similar to this. This is actually made by a company called JuiceLink. And what this basically does is you sort of screw this under your DSLR or on top of it, and it allows you to plug in XLR. I don't know if you can see the XLR sockets there, mics into there. And that's, I was using a similar unit to this. To sort of get the sound in. I then discovered JuiceLink, which gives a slightly better sound. And that, again, took the audio to the next level. Then after the NTG2, I discovered the NTG3, which again then took the audio to a further level still. Sure. But it all began with a video mic. And now with the Videomic Pro, it's even better. It's a smaller microphone. I've done extensive side-by-side testing, and it actually sounds better than the bigger mic. And as you say, it's crucially, it's got a built-in sort of gain amplifier. As you say, it's got much better pre-mic preamps for the microphone than any DSLR has built in.
Yeah.
So any kind of quiet moment. In fact, I always have it at the plus dB setting. Apart from if one was going to record anything mega loud, like your example was perfect. Planes taking off at an airport. You just leave it in there because it means that the camera pre-mic doesn't have to work hard at all. Therefore, you don't introduce a sort of any extra sort of hiss or any extra noise if you're recording straight onto the camera. I think what might be great is just to go through some slides which illustrate all the microphones we've been talking about up to this point.
Yeah.
I think Tom's got the slides there. So Tom, if perhaps if you put up the first slide. And I can't see the slides in real time, so are they up yet? And
The first one's just come up. Yes.
Right. So the first slide and the second slide.
Velocity
Slide 2 as well,
2014
please.
for UK-based
Show me
media
covering a
creators and innovators.
demonstration in Whitehall on a 5D Mark II and with a video mic. As you can see, it's got the Dead Cat Windjammer on there. So it's sort of helping cut out any kind of wind noise. So this is journalism in action with the DSLR and the video mic. Next slide, please, Tom. So the next slide shows my progression. This is now my 5D Mark II, but I've now moved up to the NTG2. And as you can see, it's plugged into the Beach Tech underneath the camera, which basically takes in the XLR. It's got pre-mic in there. It also has a battery, which means if you need to feed out phantom power to your microphone, you can do. And then from the box, it's got a mini jack lead that then plugs straight into the side of the camera. If we move on to the next slide, please, Tom.
There we go.
This is a short film which was commissioned by Olympus several years ago using their pen cameras. And we were shooting in this sort of old, dilapidated mansion. And that's, again, that's the video mic in action with its Dead Cat on there just to take away the wind, and that worked really well. That film's called Homage, so if anyone wants to look that up, you can really hear what that microphone's capable of. There's a musical scene in the middle. I won't say what it is because I don't want to give away the plot, but definitely check that out, and you'll hear quality like you'll be astonished when you hear the quality of it. Next slide, please, Tom.
Yeah, there we go.
And this is another short film that we're working on. And if you need to work in small quarters, sound man can't get in there, and you're only recording high quality ambient, that you can shoot that on a video mic without any worry at all. So we're filming inside the car. We had two actors in the front two seats and recording the dialogue and so on. There just wasn't physically enough space to get the sound man in there, although we were working with the sound man, who is actually shown in the next slide. Tom, please. So you can see he's in the background with a boom pole. That's my NTG3 that has got positioned there. And, if you can work with a sound man, if it's the kind of thing where you can either find someone who wants to collaborate with you or there's budget, definitely fork out for a sound man. It makes life so much easier. And they can just concentrate on audio whilst you concentrate on visuals and action.
Sure.
And it becomes a very, very good collaborative thing. But if you don't have the budget, then you end up looking like me in the next slide. Tom, please. It's slightly like a sort of a pack mule. So I was actually covering a wedding in that shot, and also the next one as well, please, Tom. So I've got a multimedia bag around me. It's a think tank photo bag. I've got the various lenses and bits and pieces in there. But what you can see in my hand is a 5D Mark II with a Zacuto rig, which makes sort of holding the camera much, much easier. It's easier to hold it steady. Got the NTG3 at the top, and that's going and recording into an audio recorder. So this is already, I've now taken it a step past. So from recording on camera, I've started to use audio recorders from this stage onwards. And so it's taking the audio from the microphone into the audio recorder, and then from the audio recorder, I'm splitting an output into two, and one goes to headphones, so I can monitor what I'm recording, and the other goes into the camera. So it's recording a track onto the camera, which is firstly a good safety, and secondly, it's necessary for synchronizing the external audio, and it's recording higher quality audio onto an audio recorder. There I was using a Zoom H4n, and now I've sort of moved up to this, which is a Roland R26, which has got built-in microphones, but crucially, again, it's got twin XLR inputs, which means I can plug in the high quality NTG3, and also other things like a Lavalier, which we'll talk about later on. Can we have the next one, please, Tom? So, bit of a sterile environment in the next one. I was actually filming in an operating theatre. I worked on a sort of a long-term sort of documentary fundraising kind of film for a hospital called the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, RNOH for short. And again, you can find this film on my Vimeo channel. And we're doing some filming in an operating theatre, and the camera I've got in my hand has got a Videomic Pro on it, and the camera in the foreground on the tripod has got the Videomic on it. And again, you know, great audio, great ambient sound, made it straight into the edited film afterwards. Can we have the next one, please, Tom? So we have a one-on-one interview here with Prince Andrew. Again, this was part of the hospital film. He's the patron, or he was the patron. The patronage is now passed on to his daughter, Princess Eugenie. So what you can see microphone-wise is that's the NTG3 on a mic stand. He just literally sat down, so I was leveling the cameras to get sort of eye line correct on the multicam shoot that I was doing. And then I later moved the microphone in as close as possible, obviously out of shot. So, you know, the wider shot was sort of chest height on the top.
Okay, we're back on. Okay, so sorry about the technical difficulties there. We disappeared from you for a moment, so we'll try and get back, and hopefully we're live with you now, and then we'll put it together. So if you did miss out on anything, we'll put it on YouTube later as one piece. So Edmond, to just come back to you to finish off the slideshow. Tom, are we all right to go back to this?
Yeah, just give me 1 minute just to get back to it.
Fine.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So what I'll
meanwhile, if you folks haven't noticed yet, I'm posting some links to films that I've shot in the chat room. So have a quick look there. Maybe copy the links down so you can view them at your leisure later on. I'm just going to post the last one I'm going to put up there, which is the link for Homage, which really shows the quality of the audio you can get just by planning how you're going to record it.
Sure.
And the audio with this, it was all on a Videomic, 80-pound microphone. Definitely listen to the part in the middle. I can guarantee it'll blow your socks off. I had a sound engineer whose profession it was to record live music, watch this film. And he was going on and on about how he needs £60,000 worth of equipment to sort of do his job, which he obviously does. And when he sort of saw this bit and heard the bit in the middle, and afterwards I told him I used an 80-pound microphone, he was very, very aggravated and a little bit annoyed. But it's, you know, if you sort of just apply yourself and think things through,
Sure.
You know, you'd be amazed at the quality that you can achieve with you know, even something as simple as a video mic.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we're back up. now, so
right.
we can
So we're
go
ready
back
for
to the
go back
slideshow.
to the slides.
So we'll rejoin with the Prince Andrew shot.
Prince Andrew's shot. Okay. So I'll just go through what's going on in this picture. So Prince Andrew was the patron of RNOH. He's since passed it over to his daughter, Her Royal Highness Princess Eugenie. But in this shot, I'm just setting the shot up. He's literally just sat down for a one-on-one interview. And sound-wise, I'm recording audio on both DSLRs. One's got a video mic on it, one's got a Videomic Pro on it. The reason for this is that it acts as a backup. It means that I've got audio on both cameras, which are pretty good. But it's also necessary to allow me to synchronize the external audio, which I'm recording onto a Zoom H4n using the NTG3 that you can see in the middle of the picture on a microphone stand. And I use something called Pluralize, which is a great piece of software. And you just throw the audio in, you throw the video clips in, and very quickly it synchronizes everything perfectly. Then you can go on and edit it. So in the shot, I'm just leveling the the cameras. And what I did after this was raise the microphone and bring it a lot closer. So it's just below kind of chest height, obviously out of picture. And it gave fantastic audio. The next slide, please, Tom. So this is, again, part of the same shoot. This is Princess Eugenie. And again, we're sort of just setting up pre-shooting. You can see the cameras with the microphones on them. Can we move on to the next one?
Okay.
Still part of the hospital shoot. This is a different day. We're shooting in a children's ward. And, you know, sort of get even better audio. I've got my assistant, Nicola, there. With a boom pole, it's the Røde mini boom, which I've found perfect because it's just the right height for every length for everything I need. Got the NTG3 on there, and she's recording onto the Zoom sort of for better audio. But again, as you can see, I've always got a microphone on my DSLR. I never use the built-in microphones. The better the audio is, it means I can synchronize much more accurately, or pluralize plural eyes can synchronize much more accurately. And also, if there was a problem with the Zoom, the batteries ran out or the card corrupted or something, I know I've got a good enough audio from the DSLR that I can then sort of adjust a little bit, get rid of some of the hiss and use. Can we move on, please, to the next slide, please?
Okay.
And this, again, is part of the hospital project. It gives you a slightly closer look at the cameras. We're just setting up for an interview. And the next one again, please.
Okay.
And again, you can see the microphone stand, NTG3, getting it ready. For anyone with a photographic background, recording externally means you can record in a better format, which is, in this case, it's a WAV format. And it's like comparing a JPEG to a RAW picture. You get much better sound if you record it as a WAV as opposed to a compressed file within the video, which is being compressed often to H.264 or AVCHD, depending on which make of camera you use. And the next one, please, Tom.
Okay.
So this is the camera setup that I used for a short film I shot in January called LA Diary, the link of which I've posted in the chat room. So this is with an Olympus OMD EM1 and Videomic Pros on top of it. I've got it on a Rycote shock mount, which is the sort of bits you can see on the side. And to the left of the camera, as you're viewing, you've got the Roland R26 recording the audio. And the last slide, please, Tom. Actually, I've got it here as well. So that's the same camera, but with the Røde Videomic Go, which is just perfect for these smaller cameras. It's a slightly smaller unit, smaller sort of shock mount and everything. Doesn't need a battery, so there's no danger that you're going to forget to switch it on, which has happened twice before in my career, I have to admit. And it sounds great. You know, if you want ultimate sound for an on-camera microphone, definitely the Videomic Pro is the way to go. But this is surprisingly good sounding. So this is what I was using, what I'll be using on the Micro Four Thirds cameras, like the EM1 from now on. Johnathan, how about we talk about lavaliers and stereo mics and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I think probably the natural follow-on is maybe the same group of microphones. And thanks for the pictures. It really illustrates how user-friendly they are and in that environment. So when we do trade shows and things like that, and we're speaking to people maybe who are just getting into audio, their natural assumption is that a stereo microphone is going to be better than a mono microphone. That's not necessarily the case at all. So all the microphones we've done so far are shotgun microphones, and they're specifically aimed at where the camera is pointing, or if they're separated from the camera, where you're physically pointing that microphone. The other range of microphones is stereo microphones, and these work in a slightly different way. So instead of a single microphone pointing forward, it's actually two microphones crossed over like that, so it's picking up a whole field of what's in front of the microphone. Now, again, we'll come back to Edmond in a moment for real-life examples, but this is the stereo video mic. This was the first stereo video mic that Røde did. So again, it's on a shock mount. You've got the same kind of controls at the back there. You've got an on-off switch, you've got a high-pass filter, and you've got a pad just in case anything gets too loud and you need to knock it down. Where I see the microphones being really useful is if the camera is in a stationary position and you're trying to capture a whole, maybe an atmosphere of a street scene or something like that. Maybe there's a performance that is happening and you want to capture the whole width of the sound. And basically with a mono microphone, it's not the fact that the sound just goes to one side of a left or a right. The same sound goes to both. And a stereo microphone, if something is happening on the left in front of the microphone, you're going to hear that on the left-hand side in either your speakers or your monitoring headphones. If it's on the right, it's going to be on the right-hand side. So it gives you a much, much fuller image, but in maybe an interview scene, that's not what you want. So you want to be focused on the person you're speaking to, not on everything else maybe on the street of the buses and the traffic noise. So it's not the fact that the stereo is better or worse, it's just a different environment to which you use the stereo microphones. So that's the stereo video mic. The next generation came along was the stereo Videomic Pro. So as you can see, it's quite a different microphone, and the idea again was to make it as small as possible and unobtrusive to using the camera. Again, there's a battery compartment in there, and same as the Videomic Pro, you've got your on, off, and high-pass filter, and then crucially again, so that you can take the stress off the onboard gain on the camera, you can knock the sound down, but you can also boost it up, so you can get some really, really great quality sounds from that. Again, Edmond, do you use stereo video mics at all? Do you have a need for that kind of sound?
I don't. I absolutely appreciate the importance of creating that kind of soundstage and that atmosphere with a left and a right. But in the kind of work that I do, I've stuck to mono sound that I record. I bring in the stereo field as far as accompanying audio is concerned. So sometimes I might use Foley sound, so sound effects and stuff. And sometimes that's got a little bit of a stereo feel to it. Sure. And also certainly music as well. Yeah. But personally, and it's yet because it is audio is well, everything's a learning experience for me. Yeah. I haven't been recording stereo sound yet. Right. Okay. Watch this space.
Yeah. We'll come back to you. That's great. So as Edmond said, we're going to come on to maybe some of the other mics that you may come across or need. And I think what's probably coming across here is that there's single mics which do a very, very good job, but it's always good to have an arsenal of a few mics so that you can do different situations and you can get the best from your audio. And maybe it's the case that you have two running for different purposes at the same time. So again, Edmond mentioned earlier, and I'm just going to get mine here. This is a Lavalier mic, and this is actually how I'm speaking to Edmond at the moment. So this is about a meter away, but this can be clipped to me, and it's very discreet. It's black, so it normally can. And again, that's really handy if you're doing an interview technique and maybe the camera can't get close, or your mic is going to be in the shot, and you just need to mic someone up very, very close indeed to get their voice. Is that how you would use that in your own kind of environment, Edmond?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge fan. great thing is, it comes in a little sort of tough plastic box like this.
Absolutely.
So the Lavalier microphone's in there with some bits and pieces, and an XLR adapter, and then I can plug in a longer. I mean, this is a short one, but an XLR lead and have it going to my audio recorder. It's great for interviews.
Sure.
If you folks look at the Electric Coffee Company film, the link which I've posted, or the LA Diary, there's interview scenes in there, and all of them are done on the Lavalier. You can use other microphones. You can get a Videomic Pro or a Videomic and put it on an extension lead and get that in either on a mic stand, or someone can hold a boom pole.
Sure.
And that works pretty well. Or you can use an MTG series XLR shotgun microphone, and again, boom pole or microphone, stand it up and get it in nice and close. But the Lavalier just makes life so much easier.
Sure.
One microphone, one clip. You can hide it if you want to. You can have it visible if you want to. It depends on the aesthetic you're going for. And the sound is awesome. It picks up actually a much better sound because it is so much closer. You get a depth to the sound that you can't get with a shotgun microphone when it's sort of about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away.
Sure.
So yeah, it's definitely a must. It's something that I only started using, I don't know, maybe about 8-9 months ago, maybe slightly longer than that, because I shied away from them thinking, oh, it's going to be complicated, and what if it makes sort of fabric sounds and all this. But actually, it's been so simple, and I feel like a bit of an idiot for leaving it so long. But again, as Johnathan said, it's one of an arsenal of things that you can use. If you're just starting out, don't go and spend too much money. Get yourself a video mic. Definitely get the extension lead. Definitely get yourself a Røde mini boom. They're all cheap, and they can work in different ways. You can be on camera, you can be on the boom pole with an extension, and you can try various things, and then slowly move yourself up and get better mics and different microphones. Getting an XLR mic is a great next step. Getting an audio recorder is a great next step. Lavalier is a great next step, and it allows you to grow and do sound and record audio in much better ways, getting much better quality, and just makes yourself much more versatile as well.
Sure, absolutely. Now, in addition to a Lavalier, there's also other microphones that do a similar kind of job, but maybe in a different environment. So as you may be able to see, I'm wearing a headset mic here at the moment. So maybe if you're doing a lot of movement, this keeps the distance from the sound, i.e. my mouth, to the microphone very kind of close together, and it keeps it the same distance all the time. And it doesn't matter what my clothing is doing. So say a performance is doing a lot of dancing or something like that, and the clothing is rustling around. A headset mic is when that comes into play as well, because it's just fixed to your head and it's not going to move anywhere.
What are you going to sing for us, Johnathan? I hear you've got a song and dance prepared.
Did you really? Yeah, that must have been a different email.
Last I heard it was Madonna's vote.
Is that signal going again? I think we're going to cut out. So that's the headset mic. Also, as I get over here, something called the pin mic. Now then. I'll try and get a close-up of this. It's quite small, and that's the idea. It's quite small and discreet. So, if you can see that, I'll try and turn it around so you can see. You might be able to see 3 pins there, which are very sharp, so I'm not going to touch them. And then a backing plate. Now, that is actually part of the microphone. The other part of the microphone is the capsule, which is there. The idea of that is that this plate goes behind the clothing, the pins go through the clothing, and then literally all you see is, I'll just put that onto there, is that part there. So all the big backing just holds it in place behind, and all you see is that capsule there. This cable obviously goes down inside of the clothing, so that's not seen. So if there's any circumstances where you need to be really discreet with your mic, or there's going to be a lot of movement again with clothing, that fixes it to it, and it just reduces that noise. So again, the capsule comes with it, and it's black, but there's also, if we can go up to a close-up again, Tom, if possible. You can change the top there, and you can paint the color of this anything you want. So for example, if we painted that white, and I wanted to put it against the white background there, again, hidden on clothing or in a theater environment or anything like that, it's just very discreet, and you can't see it. If you're outside, and again, you just want to be discreet as well, it also comes with a little furry just to hide that away. And that's the pin mic, really useful and really, really discreet. I'm now going to come on to the microphone, which you'll be able to see there in the picture, that Edmond's actually using to talk to us. This is the podcaster. So everything we've talked about up to now has been in the environment of which you're filming. There's then going to be scenarios when you get back, you do your editing, and there might be narration, there might be a voiceover, there might be little bits you need to add or maybe overdub. And all of the mics that we've talked about will do that, but maybe there's something more appropriate to capture the best from your voice. So you start going to a larger diaphragm mic, which is especially good for capturing the bass part of the voice. And you'll notice on television that most narrators have a really deep voice, and that's the style of it. And using a mic like this, and again, I'm going to throw over to you, Edmond, for your reasons for using it as well. It's very, very simple to use. This actually just has a USB connection on the bottom, so it goes straight into the computer. It's actually then got a headphone output on there, and it's got a headphone level. So without anything else, you can record vocals, a voice in, you can monitor yourself so you can see what it sounds like, and that does everything there. That does that job. Before we go back to Edmond, I'm also going to go over to kind of the next step, as I say, as Edmond illustrated, the stages of progression as you define what you're going to be doing and how you're going to use audio. So you could go something like the new NT1 from Røde as well. And this is specifically a large diaphragm mic to capture lots and lots of detail. You can get very, very close into the microphone, so you can capture all that kind of deep bass end from a voice. And you can use it for anything. It's great on acoustic instruments, great for vocals, great to put up in the air and just capture a bit of everything. It's in a shock mount there, so it's kind of loose, so it's not picking up vibrations to the table, and it's got a pop shield there, and the pop shield there is just to stop any plosives, so P's and B's, which are a big movement of air. That just stops that. On the podcaster, the pop shield is actually in there, so you don't need an external one as such. Again, is that something you do, Edmond? Is it something the way you add maybe a narration later at some point?
It's not something I've done for after, but the primary reason for having a podcaster is I do a fair amount of webinars. Yeah. And also having listened to webinars and online seminars, I hate it when people can't get the audio right. Yeah. You've tuned in, you've allocated an hour or two, and you really want to listen as well as look at whatever's being shown. And sure. It's a nightmare when you can't understand what the person's saying. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Podcaster plugs in, as you say, on the USB. You just select it in your computer's preferences. Sounds great. You can position it perfectly and chat away. There's hopefully everyone's hearing me crystal clear, and there's no wizardry. It's all in
sounds great.
White microphone hanging up in the corner.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to do one small little bit, a couple of extra accessories, and this is where Røde is really leading the way as well. So they're doing traditional kind of microphones. They then kind of brought things to a modern era with the DSLR microphone specifically for that. They've now gone the step further. So a lot of people are using iPhones or iPads, maybe not as a professional use, but maybe to capture something before they kind of do something to the full extent. So there's a couple of bits here which I'm going to show you as well. There's actually a Lavalier microphone, which is specifically designed for either iPad or iPhone. This for me is brilliant. If you're, for example, you're doing a wedding and you've got people doing speeches, you don't really want the camera or a big boom microphone kind of anywhere nearby. You don't really want to trust the people doing the speeches with any kind of the mixer or anything like that. But if you have an iPhone or something like that, you can drop that in the pocket, you plug that straight into the iPhone, and there's a Lavalier. And you can, again, if you're recording the audio on your camera with another mic, you can sync that up later. You just get your iPhone back. You've got the audio there. It's very, very simple. It's one mic, a cable, and the phone, and you can just switch that from person to person as you need to, or even let them do it themselves. So that's the Smart Lav. That's about £35. Again, it's a great way of just getting into Lavaliers and trying out different techniques. If you need a little bit more than that, or again, going back to the stereo field and you're out and about and you want to capture an image, there's the IXY there. So again, that's 2 microphones, and you can actually see the formation of the mics there. So that's literally covering a whole field, picking up the sound there. And literally that just goes into either iPad, like so. I'll show you an iPad so it's a bit, so you can see a bit better. But that will just go straight in, and that it comes with an app called Røde Record, and it goes straight on and it records 2 channels, or you can turn one of the mics off and use a mono channel if you wish. They're about £140, but beautifully made, very, very solid, and very, very useful. Couple of brand new bits to Røde's product line as well. Again, kind of staying on the iPhone tact for a while. Is the Røde Grip and the Grip Plus. So basically, very, very portable kind of piece of kit. This is the Røde Grip, so it comes just looking like a handle. You can pop that out of there, open that up, and again, it's got a 3/8 thread on the bottom. It's got the shoe connector there. You can pop that into there like that, tighten the shoe up. I haven't actually got an iPhone 4 with me at the minute, but you can see that grips hold of the iPhone. You've still got your lens, so you can do your film in there. You can put your smart lav in, or you can put your IXY in, and you can actually hold that. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility than actually trying to hold the phone. If your hands are like mine, you might get a little bit of the shakes. If you're holding that, it's just a lot more secure. And you can do that. You can also change the position of the shoe mount on the actual grip itself, so you can have it that way, so it's on the top of your camera, so it would be like so. Again, with the IXY, just a very, very flexible piece of kit. So that's the Røde Grip, and that's about £30. If you want to go on the next stage further, this is the Grip Plus. So it's basically the same piece of kit, but this actually comes with lenses as well. So again, you already know I'm not a camera guy, but so forgive my naivety with the lenses, but basically it comes with a 180-degree fisheye lens. It comes with a lens which is 2x zoom, and it also comes with what I believe is called a macro lens as well. So they're all in there with covers. Again, that just goes back together on the side there, and puts it back together, so you can carry it around just as a grip. And that's about £69. And as a flexible tool with your iPhone, which is so popular anyway, that's just really, really kind of great piece of kit. It's also got your kind of support there, so you don't drop it. So that both fits the iPhone 4. I believe the system for the 5 is coming shortly. So that's again really useful piece of kit. I don't know if you'd seen those before, Edmond. Have you actually seen those?
Not that, but I do have the IXI, and although I've not used it professionally, I've done extensive tests with it. Any piece of equipment I use, I test extensively.
Sure.
To make sure, firstly, I can use it properly, and secondly, to find out if it's got any boundaries or shortcomings or whatever. And that IXI sounds awesome. And as you say, the iPhone's so popular, I have mine with me all the time.
Sure.
So I have an IXI, and it comes in a really very, very neat little hard case. Tiny little case with a carabiner clip on it. And I just clip it to my bag. And if all of a sudden I need to record something properly at very, very high quality, the app, the Røde app is just awesome. Yeah. I can record that, and I know that it's gonna sort of stand up to any kind of video editing use that I might need to put it to later. So yeah, that works really well.
Absolutely. And as you said earlier, anything where you can back up your audio is great. So even if you've got a video mic and you just put your IXY or IXI onto your phone as well, it's just another bit of support that you've got there back in the studio when you're editing things together.
Absolutely. We've got a question on the chat room, which I'll just quickly answer if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Simon's asking, what's the perfect starter outfit for photo guys new to video? Like I said earlier, don't jump in and spend maximum amount of money and get the best of the best of the best. It's always best to learn and have a progression and sort of grow and grow and grow in your own time. So the perfect starter kit would be a Røde Videomic or a Videomic Pro. If you can afford the Videomic Pro, go for that. It sounds better. It's smaller. It's got built-in. It's got a better built-in preamp than your camera has. Get the Røde shielded extension cable. It's really important to get this cable and not a cheap mini jack lead because the Røde cable's shielded. The longer you have a cable, the more chance there is that it's going to pick up some electronic interference, which will come through as a hum. It could come through as a clicking, depending on what it is. So it's really important to get the shielded version. And as I say, Røde do one, and it works perfectly. And also get yourself a mini boom pole or a small microphone stand of some sort, just to allow you to get the microphone close to your subject if you're doing an interview kind of thing. The mini boom pole works better because you can also do what's called run and gun, which means, you're out on the street doing an interview with someone. You can have someone holding the boom pole, either with the microphone just above, as mine is here, or just below, as you saw in the Prince Andrew and Princess Eugenie pictures. And that outfit will let you do multitude of things. Have the mic on camera if need be, that'll work. Get it closer on the extension cable will make things even better. So that's a really good starter kit. And then just build up from there. Go to XLR, like I said. Think about recording audio separately onto a separate audio recorder.
Sure.
Zoom and Roland are the two mix you should look at. Also, actually, Tascam as well are excellent. Marantz are excellent. And again, it's a case of budget. So you can look at what fits within your budget. A Lavalier microphone is not expensive. That's also very, very good to have. Mm-hmm. But for a Lavalier, you can use an iPhone and get the Smart Lav, or get the Røde Lavalier, and then you plug that into your audio recorder because it needs phantom power to work. Like I explained earlier, phantom power means that it draws the power, which is 48 volts, from your audio recorder. So on my Roland, it's got a menu feature where I switch on phantom power, and it powers the microphones. So yeah, Videomic or Videomic Pro, Røde extension shield, and the Røde mini boom pole. Perfect starters kit.
Great, thank you. We've actually also had a request just to quickly give an overview of a new set of microphones from Røde as well. They may be more suitable to a studio environment, but it may be something, Edmond, where you think there's a need for these as well. So this is the matched pair. I'm going to say those words again, matched pair, because if you remember what Steve said at the start of this, you might need those. So the matched pairs is a new M5. So basically this is a very small microphone, and it's designed as a matched pair. And a matched pair basically means they are basically identical to the finest detail of what they're going to pick up. And again, you can use them in a XY kind of format like so and pick up a stereo field, or maybe there's just two subjects that you need to kind of get at different areas. Great for kind of choirs or maybe some music or something like that, and they just pick up a field of sound. They're brand new, they're excellent, they're great, they're very small, so they're getting in for tight spaces. They're superb. They're about £170, and from a recording side on the studio point of view, that's a great starting point because you can do just about everything with them. So that's a request from one of the Scan regular viewers.
Yeah, actually, Johnathan, it's Tom here.
Yeah, hi, Tom.
I thought that exactly that. With those new mics, like you say, recording choirs, when you're recording audio actual concerts, having something like that, especially if you've got a recorder that can do 4 channels and you can plug other extensions in, having those spot mics, using them, it's the perfect example for something like the M5 pair. Sure,
Absolutely. Again, great quality. Don't think that the cost at 170 is because it's a budget mic. It really is not. It's a great mic. And again, Røde do that by the investment in manufacturing, that they can make things very cost effectively, but still very good and very reliable. I'm aware of time, and there's just a couple of things I'm going to go over. Myself and Edmond can talk about microphones all night, which we won't do for you. But what you really need as a buyer is get all these microphones in the same room and listen to them. That's fairly impossible to do. And even if you were able to do that, to have the same source of audio and listen to it on each one at the same time is very difficult indeed. Now, as it happens, Røde have managed to do that for us. I'm just going to see if we can get a close-up on the iPad there. So this is the Røde sound booth. You can download it as an app, but if you go to the Røde website as well, rødemic.com, you can use it on there just in real time on the internet. And basically what this does, it gets all the microphones together that we've talked through, and you can select what kind of environment you're going to be using it in. So say, as we've spoken about, you're going to use it in an outdoor interview kind of scenario. You can then compare the built-in microphone off the camera. There's the video mic, then the stereo video mic, all the way down to the NTGs, to the ping mics, the Lavaliers, the headsets, the reporter mic, which I'll mention in a moment. And then you have a piece of audio, and as you can see from the picture here, the interviewer here is mic'd up by all those mics at the same time. So it's the same source, and the WAV file there is that same source recorded by all the different microphones at once. And you can play that and swap between microphones while you're doing it. It's not going to sound great because it's just on my iPad at the moment. But if you're at home, pop your headphones on. If you've got some studio monitors there, use that, and you will really hear the difference between, for example, NTGs and the video mic range. You'll hear the difference between stereo mics and a mono mic. And it's a really helpful tool to decide how you're going to be using the mics and what you're actually needing. That's a Røde sound booth. They do a version for the broadcast mics, which we've spoken about. They also do a version for the studio mics, which is basically a session that was recorded in LA by kind of pro people. And you can, again, if you want a drum kit and try all the different mics on that, you can do that. And it's a really helpful tool. If there's one thing you're going to do before buying a mic, I would suggest going there and have a look and have a listen to the different microphones. Also on the Røde mic website, there's something called Røde University. Great for people who are experienced with audio, but also for people starting off. And if you don't know where to start, Edmond's been a great help there. But if you need some help in knowing where to start in terms of what you're doing, there's people there that have done it. They've bought a mic, they've started off, and it's showing you how they've used it and developed right the way through to a professional level. So that's really helpful as well. I think that's about it from myself. Any more questions?
One more question from the chat room. Actually, it's about the M5.
Yeah.
How do they compare to the NT5?
Right. Okay. I should have mentioned this actually. Sound quality, they're very similar. They're a great mic. Again, this is a new revision. The NT5 has been out a while. The NT5, you can actually change the polar pattern. You can take the top off the mic, and you can change the polar pattern to being omni, which is all around, or a cardioid, which is just picking up in front. The M5 is just a cardioid, so it's just picking up in front. So there is that limitation. The NT5 is a little bit more money, but in terms of sound quality, they're very similar, and it's a great set of mics, whether you've got a load of mics already or you're just starting off. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
All right.
I've actually just got one quick one for Edmond. Edmond, what post-processing do you do on your audio? So once you've recorded it, do you use compressors? Do you use gates? What have you got a set way of doing anything like that?
I don't have a set way. I don't have a formula because everything is always different. It's the same with my photography, same with my video. I will have a look, I'll have a listen, and then do whatever's necessary. Generally speaking, though, for most, not all, but for most dialogue, I will use a compressor. I use a Final Cut 10 for my editing, so I'll use the compressor that's in Final Cut 10 and just sort of compress the sort of dialogue just to make it more even. But occasionally, if there's sometimes there's a hiss issue, I'll filter that out. But I don't have a sort of a set pattern that I use. I'll always listen, see what it sounds like, and then make a decision. Part of that is because I try and get it right in recording. I'm very old school. The way I started photography was, you get it right in camera. You don't try and fix it in a dark room. And nowadays, you hear this awful, horrendous phrase of, hey, we'll fix it in post. Anyone who says we'll fix it in post, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't know what they're talking about. If you can get it right in camera, spend a little bit more time, get it right in camera. You'll save yourself hours of messing around later on in post-production, be that in photography, video, or audio. Obviously, if we're talking special effects and stuff, no, that's something that you have to do later on when it comes to sort of editing and creation. But as far as everything else is concerned, my aim is to make sure there's no extraneous noises, hums, hisses, or sounds, to make sure that I nail my gain level, so I don't need to mess around raising or sort of drop in the sound, and to make it as good as I can. And that's part of the craft, I think. And then that saves lots of time when it comes to editing.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I think that's exactly what everyone should hear, and it's probably the most valuable lesson
Absolutely.
that you can take away from this.
Absolutely. There is a lot you can do in post, but it's just going to save you so much time if you get it right to start with, and that's using things like high pass filters and pads and things like that. So yeah, great piece of advice, Edmond.
Okay.
Sorry, Tom. Can I just ask one more favor? You've got the text slide there with some details on.
Yes,
my details, websites and stuff. If you don't mind just flashing that up. I've already posted it in the chat room, but once we're done here, by all means have a look at the websites. I've got a blog, which is very, very popular. It's sort of helpful to video, photography, journalism, and anyone who's interested in computing and stuff. Also, I've got various websites for my video work, for my photo work and stuff. So have a look there, look through the films. Hopefully, they might be interesting and even inspirational. And also, if you've got more questions here, we'll carry on chatting for a while. But if you need to get in touch, you can hook up with me on Twitter. So I'm at Terakopian. So by all means, hook up on Twitter, ask away, and I'll do my best to sort of help out there. We've got one more question from Claire.
Sure.
For new shooters who are maybe working alone, it can be difficult to monitor audio when you're interviewing. What sort of checks do you do if you're trying to do everything yourself? And have you ever had any audio disasters? The majority of work I do is actually on my own. I know in some of the pictures you saw an assistant or the sound man, but a lot of what I do is actually on my own. So, and often I'll have multicam as well. So I'll not just be operating the one camera. Like an idiot, I'll be operating two cameras, an audio recorder, recording audio on everything as well, separately, on each camera as well as separately. The trick is, the biggest trick is to take a deep breath, to get into a state of Zen and not panic. That's all there is to it. Because in fact, it only takes probably a minute to set everything up perfectly. But that minute can seem a long time if you're, trying to rush it and be quick. And what I do is I just talk to people. I have a chat. Whilst I'm working, I still chat. I make a joke. I say stuff like, I just need to faff about a bit to make myself look professional, and people always giggle at silly comments like that. And I'll just carry on chatting. A good trick with setting your audio gain is that if you're doing an interview with someone, they will go through some changes before they settle into their normal speaking voice. So at first, they'll be really timid and a little bit scared. So that's not when you start your interview. You chit-chat, you crack a joke, you talk about anything. Personally, I have no idea about football, but if they like football, I'll talk about football with them, just to get them to relax. And then when the interview starts, after you've gone through that phase, people will then overdo it, and then they'll start really loud and try and be confident, and then eventually they'll calm down. So all you need to do is just be aware of that, and just keep monitoring it. And then once they've settled down, generally you're gonna be fine with that. It's always best to record a little bit lower than you need, because sometimes people get excited, or I don't know, if you're doing an interview on football, they say, oh yeah, the game was really boring apart from when Rooney scored that great goal, and that voice goes up. And if you're recording the rest correctly, that's going to peak, and it's going to ruin it. So it's stuff like that. Another way is if you can split your recording onto a left and right and have different gain levels, that really helps. So you do one correctly, and then you knock the other one down by 5 or 7, -5 or -7 dB, even -10 if the person's really excitable. Then when it comes to editing, you can go, back and forth and chop the audio together and make it sort of more uniform. But the biggest thing is just relax, just chill out. You know, it takes a minute or two, even if you're using multiple cameras, to make sure you level them correctly, so you've got eye line across both cameras, and make sure you do your white balance correctly, make sure you do your exposure correctly, make sure you do your audio correctly, your audio gain level correctly, and you know where the microphone's pointing. If it's pointing from below upwards, you know, make sure there's no air conditioning duct or a projector on the ceiling, which occasionally kicks a fan in, and stuff like that. The disasters that I've had is, as I mentioned before, on 2 occasions I did forget to switch on my microphone on the microphones on the camera, the video mics. But thankfully, not a disaster, because I had the other camera running. So as far as syncing, it worked. And then when I noticed, I just very quickly just switched it on. But I was recording separate audio anyway onto an external audio recorder. So just because I switched it on, then there was enough for Pluralize to then synchronize. So I didn't actually completely screw up. But yeah, my 2 audio cock-ups have been forgetting to switch the microphone on. So always leave the microphone switched on. As Johnathan said, the battery life is massively long. I think since I've started using my video mic, which must be, I don't know, 6 years, and I've probably changed the battery once, maybe twice in 6 years, because it just lasts and lasts, you know.
Sure.
You never do a single recording or a single project that's that long. So just keep everything switched on. Another good tip with audio and video, even if you're recording in camera or not, is it's always better to keep rolling. Sometimes your subject, even in a set interview, will relax enough when they don't think that you're sort of interviewing them, and they'll open up and they'll say something really, really moving and really touching and so important that it just elevates the quality of your work. If you guys look at my LA diary, I posted the link earlier. I won't say who it is, because again, I don't want to sort of ruin the flow. But the second person that comes on in that film, there's a segment in the middle of his interview where he actually doesn't think we're rolling, and we weren't. I was messing around setting up a camera, but I had it rolling, and he just really opened up, and he was so it was amazing. It was so powerful. It was so expressive, and that just elevated the work. So keep rolling, but always relax, always chill out. Couple of minutes spent setting stuff up means that you get everything correct, and you don't waste time trying to correct stuff, and just chat to your subjects. They don't mind.
Sure. Are we right? Great. Thank you very much, Edmond.
Thank you very much for that, Johnathan. We're going to go to some titles, and then hopefully Steve's going to come back.
So, thank you to Johnathan, and thank you to Edmond for that. I think that was the longest webinar we've done, but actually probably the most factual and the most entertaining. So we really need to do this again. The Skype thing, I think, worked beautifully. You may remember that we said at the top of the show there would be a certain phrase, and I'm sure that Johnathan mentioned it. It was something to do with matched pairs. Matched pairs. And if you were to have recognised that phrase and to pop it in an email to scamproaudio@scan.co.uk, you may find that you get, by return mail, some rather favourable pricing on this delectable Røde gear. But for now, it remains for me to say next week we have a special Bitwig feature, which we're all looking forward to. But once again, thank you to Johnathan, thank you to Edmond, and thank you to you guys for watching. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
My pleasure.